In the quiet industrial heart of Manchester, a city renowned for its resilience and relentless rhythm, in the spring of 2014, the story begins with Mark Davidson, an Uber driver of 45 years, a man whose life had been shaped by both tragedy and routine. Since the passing of his beloved wife Emma to cancer, Mark found solace and purpose in raising his only son Jamie. Their small two-bedroom home on a nondescript street stood as a testament to Mark's devotion. A place of order, warmth, and quiet evenings spent helping Jamie with homework, striving to fill the void left by Emma's absence. Mark was known among friends and passengers alike as an affable soul. He was the sort of driver who kept sweets in his car for his customers, always quick with a kind word and a gentle inquiry about their day. His Uber shifts almost always ran from 6 in the evening to midnight, carefully timed so he could be home when Jamie returned from school. Mark's life, outwardly unremarkable, was defined by a sense of duty and a father's steady love. But on a cool May evening, the routine was shattered. A missing persons report arrived at the Manchester police station, landing on the desk of Detective Inspector Collins, a seasoned investigator with 15 years' experience and an unflinching resolve. The subject was Sarah, a university student, 22 years old, who disappeared after a night out with friends. The last trace of Sarah was a completed Uber trip recorded at 11:30 p.m., with Mark Davidson as her driver. Security cameras confirmed that Mark's car pulled up in front of Sarah's apartment, but curiously, no one saw her enter the building. Inspector Collins summoned Mark for questioning the very next morning. He arrived visibly anxious yet cooperative, clutching his Uber jacket and a meticulously kept notebook of his rides. He described Sarah as a pleasant young woman, her blonde hair slightly tousled, and admitted she appeared somewhat intoxicated. He assured the detective he had dropped her at her building, as usual, received a good rating, and then returned home to check on Jamie, who was busy revising for his exams. Mark's account was precise and detailed, and his nervousness seemed natural for someone facing questions about a disappearance. The investigation initially focused on the area surrounding Sarah's apartment. Police canvassed the neighborhood, interviewed residents, and combed through every possible lead, but found nothing. No fingerprints, no blood, no evidence of a struggle. Even Mark's car, always kept spotless for his passengers, bore no trace of anything suspicious. His background check turned up nothing more than a few traffic violations. Mark Davidson appeared to be exactly what he claimed, a hard-working single father doing his best. Yet, 3 weeks later, another young woman vanished under eerily similar circumstances. Emily Chen, a 20-year-old nursing student, disappeared after taking an Uber from her friend's house in Salford. Once again, Mark Davidson was the driver. Once again, the ride was recorded as completed, but Emily never made it home. Her roommate, awaiting her return, called the police when Emily failed to appear. Inspector Collins brought Mark in for another round of questioning. This time, his fear and confusion were palpable. He was shaken by the pattern, unable to comprehend how, after 3 years of incident-free driving, 2 of his passengers had simply vanished. He insisted, with trembling voice, that he'd gone straight home after his shift, as always. Then came the 3rd disappearance. In June, Rebecca Martins vanished, followed swiftly by Lisa Thompson, both young women between 18 and 22, both last seen in an Uber with Mark Davidson. The pattern was undeniable. Young women, late-night rides with Mark, and then nothing. Media attention exploded, dubbing the case the Uber disappearances. Mark Davidson's name became synonymous with suspicion, the specter of a potential serial killer haunting Manchester's streets. Yet, even as the police intensified their surveillance, Mark's behavior remained unchanged. He continued driving, delivering passengers safely, returning home each night at the same hour. Undercover officers posing as passengers reported nothing but professionalism and courtesy. Faced with mounting pressure, Inspector Collins implemented round-the-clock surveillance on Mark. For an entire month, from mid-July to mid-August, police tracked his every movement, watched his home, monitored his car. The routine was monotonous. Mark woke at 10, shared breakfast with Jamie, spent afternoons running errands or maintaining his car, worked his evening shift, and returned home before midnight. Officers confirmed he never left his house during the night, sleeping soundly in his front bedroom, with every entrance and exit under constant observation. Yet, on the 15th of August, the impossible happened. While Mark was confirmed to be asleep in his bed, under the watchful eyes of multiple officers, a fifth young woman, Sophie Williams, vanished after an Uber ride. The app showed Mark Davidson as the driver, the trip marked complete, but Sophie was gone, vanished into thin air. Inspector Collins, reviewing the surveillance logs, was stunned. Mark could not have committed the crime. He was asleep, monitored, and his car was parked outside his house. How then was his Uber account active, accepting and completing rides across Manchester? Was Mark a criminal mastermind, or was something even more inexplicable at play? The breakthrough came from the police tech specialist assigned to the case. Digging into the Uber account data, he discovered something startling. On the night of Sophie's disappearance, Mark's account was active, but Mark himself was asleep. Someone else was using his account, accepting rides, and driving his car. But who had access? The answer lay closer than anyone had suspected. Jamie Davidson, Mark's seemingly perfect son, was the only other person in the home. At 16, Jamie was the model student, quiet, studious, polite, and always ready to corroborate his father's alibi. Teachers described him as mature beyond his years, the sort of youth any parent would be proud of. Inspector Collins began to suspect that Jamie was not the innocent teenager he appeared. A separate surveillance detail was placed on the Davidson home, focusing on Jamie's movements. For a week, Jamie's behavior was routine. School in the day, homework at night, early to bed. Yet, the surveillance team began noticing oddities in Mark's demeanor after his shifts. The once alert and talkative man now seemed increasingly sluggish and disoriented upon returning home, stumbling inside without his usual care. Initially, officers attributed this to fatigue, but Collins ordered a deeper investigation into Mark's evening rituals, uncovering troubling evidence in his medical records. Mark had recently begun complaining of severe insomnia, prompting his doctor to prescribe a potent sleeping aid. But the appointments had been booked not by Mark, but by Jamie, who explained his father's embarrassment about seeking help. The doctor, convinced by Jamie's concern, handed the prescription directly to the son, trusting him to ensure Mark received proper treatment. Collins realized, horrified, that Jamie had been drugging his father each night, guaranteeing he would sleep deeply and undisturbed. But why would Jamie do this? Follow along to find out the answer in Part 2.